Welcome back. So it's time now for that all-important conversation on the campaign for an increase in SSB tax, that's sugar-sweetened beverages tax, to, force lifestyle change, and of course to also perhaps direct the funding to critical sectors that need it, for instance the health sector. But there are other implications to this. To help us understand this conversation better, we have joining us on the program the Executive Director of Corporate Accountability, let me get that correctly, and Public Participation Africa, Corporate Accountability and Public Participation Africa, Mr. Akinbode. Mr. Akinbode joins us via Zoom this morning. Good morning and welcome to the program. Please unmute your microphone.
Good morning.
Yes, indeed. Good morning and welcome. It's good to have you join us. So for starters, of course, there are campaigns out there about the danger, not just from NGOs, but of course from health practitioners, about the dangers of excessive sugar. But this is deliberate, you're tying it to an increase in tax to discourage such lifestyle. But some would say, what is the data that is there to back up this campaign? So perhaps you could provide some data that you have.
Well, thank you very much. But first, let's refresh our minds about the use of taxes, because flowing from conversation that you've had this morning, it is essential that we must again remind ourselves that taxes are not just used to put burden on people. Taxes are used by government for other purposes other than revenue collection. For instance, it can be used to promote spending on certain aspects, goods and services. It can also be used to discourage people from consuming certain services and goods. It's a tool that can be used for wealth redistribution, and that takes us to why luxury goods are taxed more than essential goods. And of course, there is what we call the pro-head taxes, taxes that are used to discourage people from consuming products or food or items that are having health implications. And that is where this SSB, sugar-sweetened beverages taxes, falls into. And what do we call SSBs, or sugar-sweetened beverages? They are the basic sugary drinks that we see all around us. Because they are, a source of what we call free sugar. They are easily called non-alcoholic drinks or soft drinks in Nigeria. They are bottled, they are packs, and they're just everywhere. And the reason is that in Nigeria, the overconsumption of SSB is clearly now linked to non-communicable diseases. Non-communicable diseases cause over 24% of deaths in Nigeria. Consumption of sugary drinks is linked to cancer, it's linked to type 2 diabetes, it's linked to decay of the tooth, and several other diseases. And because of that, governments around the world are taking measures to ensure that there is less and less consumption of these products. And as I'm talking to you, Nigeria is number 4, ranks the 4th largest consumer of SSB in the world. And that's an alarming projection that the governments, through the Fiscal Act of 2021, had to introduce a 10 naira per liter excise duty on SSBs, which is grossly insufficient. The WHO projected that, and global best practices is that such tax should be about 20% of the final retail price of that product. And we are way below that as at today.
So let's begin to balance out some of the arguments that we've seen so far as this issue is concerned. On one hand, it's a great move to force lifestyle adjustment so that people will live better lives and be more productive. The average lifespan of a Nigerian is still not up to 60 yet. We're hoping it's going to get better. But with the biting situation of the economy, I don't know what the numbers look like. So that's on one hand of the argument that, look, if the people are generally poor, why do you now want to endanger yourself? Because the healthcare system is not as it should be. And then out of pocket spending is quite high when it comes to our healthcare facilities and all of that. And the people, their purchasing power is low. So we can go through that entire chain of seeing that it's better to avoid this than to be sorry later. But the other side of the argument is also the fact that these are people's businesses that will be targeted one way or the other for good reasons, but it's still a business to also lubricate the economy, if it will, as it were. How do you want to balance all of this?
Well, thank you very much. There is a global principle that when there is a conflict between the health of the people, right, and commercial interests, public health will take precedence. And that's actually is an objective that permeates almost every global principles. And so you will expect that the Nigerian government will also act in defense of our public health. The fact remains that most of the chronic diseases associated with sugary drinks are extremely expensive to treat. Secondly, when you look at this tax that we are asking governments to increase, it's also to be able to put money back into some of the lacks that we have in government. However, we also need to go back to very empirical data. When the Nigerian government introduced the 10 naira per liter on SSBs, a liter, the pack liter was selling then for around 300, 400 naira. The 55 cl, the common ones that we see on the road, the most common ones that we'll see was selling for 100 naira. Those brands as of today are selling for about 300 naira, 400 naira. Yet the tax on this remains 5 naira on the SSBs. So you have a situation whereby corporations will always lie to government. They will tell you that, oh, the tax, that 5 naira tax, government tax is the one that would cause job losses. But they did not tell you, they did not hold a press briefing when they moved their price from 100 naira to 300 naira. Now, early this year, the most popular brands just declared that they are, recording over 16% profit globally, and also including Nigeria. They've declared billions of profits in June in Nigeria, and in fact, even reinvesting millions of dollars into the Nigerian economy. What that tells you is that these people are not actually giving accurate data to inform public decisions in Nigeria. Rather, they do what I call the Armageddon theory. They will tell government, we're not going to lose just jobs, we're going to, the economy is so bad and the rest of them. But the Nigerian government should dig into the original data, the profits, the profits they are declaring in their home countries. That is where the real truth about their standing in our country is. Until today, we've not seen them scaling down on their operation. Rather, they are investing and they are reinvesting in Nigeria because there is low taxes, there are lower regulations. Nigerians are over-consuming these products. As I said earlier, we are the fourth largest consumer of these products in Nigeria. And again, I reemphasize that public health trumps economic interest anytime, because if there are no people, there won't be an economy.
This conversation is a very important one because it touches at the heart of our existence, our health. If health fails, then existence naturally fades away. By the way, we also invited the other side to this conversation to hear from some of the companies, the corporations that produce these things, but were not able to join us on the show this morning to have this, well-rounded debate for the good of Nigerians. So let's move forward. In this conversation at different layers, as has been said, there's a health component to this. There's the cost, because a lot of people will think of cost first and say, does that mean what I'm buying for 300 naira will now be sold for, I don't know, if you're increasing from 10% to over 100%? What is the figure you're looking at? Let's begin there.
So for us, what we're saying is that the tax that it will be effective to bring down reduction. I say this is not a revenue drive.
No, I understand. I understand. Just
of course.
Put that and clear that out of the way. So if they're buying it for 300 now, how much do you imagine they'll be buying it for if that tax is approved? By the way, the 2024 fiscal document has been sorted, but let's imagine it's approved. How much will the new price, what range are you looking at?
So what we are proposing, because we can't project what will be the new price. It depends on what the companies want to sell their products. Is that tax, the tax component of it will be about 20% of the final retail price. And we did an economic simulation that shows that whatever they are selling today, the tax should be about 138 naira and adjustable to inflation.
All right.
Just as I said, a fixed tax of 10 naira since 2021, though it's not the exact 10 naira of that time. So it has to be adjustable to inflation.
Right. So if they're buying for 300, perhaps more than 400. I'm just trying to piece this together, or depending on whatever comes out.
So let me just explain to you that yes, the purpose of this is to bring price increase. In fact, if there is no price increase, then we've not achieved our desired purpose. The purpose is to ensure that there is increase in prices. We do not want the companies to absorb, the taxes, so that the taxes are passed to the consumers, and then the consumers can then take a look when they are dehydrated, right. They want to drink water, then they will check and say, oh, a bottle of water is this amount, a bottle of this sugary drink is this amount, and then they will take the healthy choice.
Understandably. I'm not a fan of sugar-sweetened beverages, so I'd rather do maybe let's move on this one. But I was just trying to get that out of the way to have a sense of the cost. But my major question is this, the health component. Now, there have been a lot of response or reaction to the report you put out and this your call. Some say that your report actually just establishes a correlation and not causation. And I'm sure you've heard that. So in terms of whether or not this is a correlation and not a causation, I'd like you to clear that air so we really know what is at play here in terms of health. And on the flip side is WHO's recommendation for sugar consumption. Where is Nigeria? Have we broken the limit or we're below the limit? Those two questions. Those are actually my original questions.
So in terms of causation, there are tons, millions and millions of research linking sugary drinks to health implications. That I think whoever is saying that, all you just need is to just put on your phone and you'll see that these drinks are the major source of free sugar. They have no nutritional value. They just add calories and calories to your diet. And when you continue to fill yourself with this diet, you will have unhealthy weight gains. And when you have unhealthy weight gains, what you begin to happen is you are then going to likely have some of those health diseases that are related to weight gains, like the cancers that I've mentioned, that is killing 75,000 Nigerians, about 120,000 new cases are recorded every year. You then begin to have type 2 diabetes. And also, let me tell you, WHO had said that, look, that there's a likelihood that over 20% of Nigerians are, if care is not taken and urgent action are not taken, die of non-communicable diseases. These are hard facts. These has been well researched and well documented, and that is no longer a subject of debate.
I have.
So just a moment, Bukola. So this is sounding like it's sounding like the issue of GMO versus organic products. Yeah, that looks like, if you want to compare argument, GMO organic product. I'm not saying that is what it is. I'm talking about the commercial interest as against the issue of health at the end of the day, which is what we are debating. Some are saying that no matter what you do, people always go for what they want to go for. In fact, you're even creating a space for black market. So on one hand, you might have increased price to discourage the people from consuming as much as they should consume. But on the other hand, other complementary or alternatives may be available that may be affordable to the very same lower ebb of the community in terms of the population, in terms of the economic power, that may hamper what you're already trying to achieve. So if you were to advise on the average as to how government can manage this effectively, there's no perfect 100% success, I guess, in this, because the two interests are valid. One hand, health; on the other hand, commercial interest. So all of these have to work together and meet at a nexus to make us have a better society. So if you were to propose as to how effectively this can be executed and implemented such that we don't have a spin-off that can hamper our society even further, what will it be?
First, let me say that this works. It's extremely effective. There are countries around the world that have introduced this kind of levy. UK has the health promotion levy. South Africa has their own version. So many governments around the world, and the results has been very profound. You see a reduction in the consumption of unhealthy diets and then increase in the healthy diets. What we do advocate, and in the case of Nigeria, is that government should not just see these as a means of collecting revenue. Yes, government revenue is going to increase, but however, government should earmark that revenue to public health. There is lack of resources for healthcare in Nigeria, and that this tax should just not be collected and then lumped into the federation account, and then you see governments sharing it to do other things, but that it should be used to address the problem that that industry has created. And in terms of other ways to look at it, it's also that this is a campaign to also promote product reformulation. In fact, what we've seen in the case of UK and South Africa is that once these taxes were introduced, because their own taxes were volumeric, it's based on the volume and the content of sugar, companies then began to reformulate their products and create healthy products. So it's a win-win for the population, it's a win-win for government, it's a win-win for all the people. That's exactly why this is extremely so important.
You called it health promotion levy, and that's where I'm headed now. Already there's a 10% tax in place. Is your organization and perhaps others that are embarking on this campaign looking at the accountability component of what is already in place? And in whatever document that you're going to be presenting, perhaps for legislation purposes, what measures are you proposing as well for that fund to be properly channeled to the health sector, areas in the health sector that are in dire need of this type of additional health promotion levy?
Thank you. Yeah, so we are not just saying these taxes should be increased. We are also engaging government, and we are engaging government at all levels on how to manage and better utilize, this tax or levy, depending on the language the government decides to use. Yes, we are currently tracking how much the Nigerian government had collected from the 10 naira per litre that was introduced in 2021. We are trying to engage the customs. We are trying to engage with the Ministry of Finance to be able to look at in terms of the size of what has been collected and what they've been used for. And of course, to build our argument for earmarking of the taxes. We're again looking at the Custom Act. We're looking at the National Health Act of 2014. And of course, we're also looking at the possibility of also getting a non-communicable diseases fund, where what we call the sin taxes can be warehoused for public health in Nigeria. The sin taxes are sugar, salt, tobacco. All those pro-health taxes can well be coordinated and managed to improve health outcomes in our country.
All right. There are so many areas to touch on this particular topic, but we must leave it there for now. And just to quickly add that if you're whatever percentage of increase that you're proposing, the alternatives to a healthy lifestyle are not necessarily cheaper as well. Some of them are way more expensive than the SSBs. So you may want to be more strategic, I think outside the box in the percentage increase of tax that you're proposing. However you look at it. Okay, go ahead, but respond just briefly to that.
I think the alternative is extremely cheaper. The best alternative is water.
Okay.
Drink water and drink water and drink water.
All right. Point taken. Thank you so much, sir. We've been speaking with the Executive Director, Corporate Accountability and Public Participation Africa, Mr. Olufemi Akibodi. Thank you so much for your time on the program.
Thank you so much.